What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? And this is Switch Up Sports with Mighty Q. And today, we're just going to kind of see where we go. It's a two-pronged message, like always. I like to have two things to typically talk about. I like to have a topic early, topic late. But essentially today, before I get into anything, I especially want to thank all of you guys because at the end of the day, without all the stuff that you guys do to help me, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do to try to help deliver for you guys. So you guys, with the continued support and all that you guys do, thank you so much for all that you do. I greatly appreciate it. All the different emails that I get from you guys. I have a blast breaking down your guys' matches and stuff like that. It's an absolute blast. And the only thing I will say, when you do send an email and you send a match, just let me know which singlet you're in, because there are times where I don't know. And it just makes it easier knowing going in before trying to figure something out like that. So if you do want me to break down a match, I will gladly break down a match for you. Send me an email at quinnredmond21@gmail. And then I said, just let me know which singlet you're in and prefer it to be like a full match. Like I know some people have sent like highlights, some people have sent like little snippets. Just send me the full match, I'll give you a breakdown. I don't care if it's a win or a loss. Typically send me a match where it's not like, you took the guy down and you took him to his back and you pinned him. Like, there's not much to really critique there. I'm not saying you need to send me something that went full 3 periods, but at the same time, something that has a little bit of substance to it. It makes it easier on both of our parts because it gives me something to be able to give you to work on. And at the same time, it helps from you guys come to me. It's like, it's really tough on my side, like breaking down a match that goes like 30 seconds and it was like completely to one side or the other, whether you won or lost. It just makes it tough if there's really not much there. So like I said, thank you so much. I've received a bunch of emails and it's an absolute blast. I'm glad that I can help anybody that I can. That's really the only reason why I've wanted to start doing this, is because I do have 14 years of actual wrestling experience, but then it's 20 years of being in the wrestling world. So there's a different way that I look at it, and seeing a lot of the matches brings me back to when I was your guys' age. So for a lot of you guys that are sending me matches, some of you are, in like middle school, some of you guys are in high school, and seeing these different atmospheres takes me back to when I was there. And the big thing for me is I can remember what I was doing when I was that age, because I remember there were some matches where like my uncle used to help me break down stuff, and my uncle was a coach, and he had wrestled at the University of Illinois, and he would help me break down matches and say, hey, there's doing this, or hey, you should have went with this move, and then this is a good counter here. But I remember also at the time on the mat that there was a coach in my corner that told me to do something, and at the time I'm like, there's no way that this move is going to work. And then looking at it back now, especially from my perspective, it's like, oh, I get what that move is there. But it was more because of partial a confidence thing. And I think that's a little bit what I'm going to kind of talk about further, is a little bit about confidence, because it's tough when a coach is screaming at you from the corner. It's tough when you just feel, especially like when you're on bottom. Like when you're on bottom, if like there's a guy who's just like really good on top and he's just working a lot of breakdowns and it feels like you just really can't get up, and you have a coach that's like yelling at you for a certain move, and it feels like you're relatively helpless. And so there's just times where you're just really getting beat down. You're really getting beat down. You don't want to do anything. And then if you go back and look at the match, that's sometimes a good way of being able to see it too. If you're able to see it quick enough, some people, there's an emotional side to it, but at the end of the day, Tom Brady's so good at football because he watches so much film. He knows what's going on, and I think to a degree, it's not just, yes, I'm going to watch a bunch of defenses, but Tom also breaks down like some of the stuff that he's doing on his own, because he wants to make sure that there's guys that are in the correct formation. He want to make sure that he's set up the correct way in offense. He wants to make sure that he went through the right progression. He did the right things that he should, and that's just going to lead to a better game. Confidence. That's where we're going to go today. So confidence is an interesting one, especially in a sports world. So there's confidence in your knowledge, there's confidence in your technique, there's confidence in your skills. So there's a lot of different ways that you can say, oh, he has confidence. But there's also a borderline to walk there, because there's a borderline between confidence and cocky, and that line is very it's very fine. There's a lot of people that have a lot of talent, a lot of skills, and they don't walk that line very well. They get a little bit too far to one side, and it's not that you can't be cocky, it's not that it's not a bad thing, but being cocky is like you're an asshole. And I mean, if you're fine being an asshole, I mean, there's definitely those people that are just like, yeah, I don't care. And to a degree, everyone needs to be cocky, but the cockiness comes relatively from accomplishments. So if you're someone who, whatever tournaments you go to, it's like if you win every tournament that you go to, you relatively, your line, it's not that it stays right in the middle, but it gives you a little bit of leeway one side or the other. Like it gives you a little bit to go, because, and the reason I say that is because a lot of people have said to me, oh, well, you're just too cocky. It's like, I'm not. I'm very confident in my ability when it comes to sports. And it's not because I think I'm better than everyone. It's, I understand that I'm training really, really hard, like 5-6 days out of the week. Most people wouldn't actually keep up with my regimen just because of the fact of, I mean, the majority of people that are my age don't keep up with this regimen unless they are some type of an athlete. I work out 3 times a day, Monday through Friday, and then Friday, Saturday, either 2 times, but at least 1 time a day. So Fridays and Saturdays are my more laid back days, but it gets 1 workout or sometimes 2, and they're a lot more targeted, directed workouts, like normally more cardio induced. And it's not something that's just kind of like all over the place. It's not like I'm like lifting is one of them. So during the week, Monday through Thursday, it's my heavy caseload. But that's the reason why, like when I go and play like pickup sports, or if I'm going in doing whatever else when it comes to sports wise, it's like that's the only reason why I come in with the confidence that I have. It's like I know how well I'm going to do because I know what I've done to prepare. And confidence comes through being prepared. If you know you're ill prepared, then you're normally not very confident when you're going into whatever task. Now, at that same juncture where I'm going to pivot, and there's a fear aspect, and then there's the anxiety of not doing well, and that fear of, well, I don't know if I'm going to do good enough, and you know, you're trying to establish a bar, and you're trying to do better than the bar that you're giving yourself. And I get that. You need to establish a baseline. You need to establish what you want to accomplish with whatever you're going into. If I'm going into a tournament, I'm trying to win every tournament that I go into. If I'm going and playing a round of golf, I'm trying to shoot the lowest score, period. That you have to have. You need to have an understanding of why you're doing what you're doing, and that's essentially where you start. Now, if I said to myself, hey, I'm going to go score 30 points in this basketball game, and knowing it's like, well, I haven't shot a basketball in like 10 years, how confident am I really going to be if I'm like, oh, I'm going to go score 30 in that game? Well, it's not. And it goes the same for whatever sports you're playing. And so, like, as a wrestler, I felt very confident going into a lot of tournaments. And now that confidence going into some tournaments definitely led to some anxiety, because I knew I was training so hard, and I was putting so much pressure on myself, and that pressure would only be alleviated if I did a certain result. And now this is the only thing that I'm going to say to you. that pressure is ultimately nonsense. Whatever the result is nonsense, because we don't know, we can't predict, we can't say, oh, this is bound to happen. Yes, there's a certain statistical probability that XYZs should happen, but when it really comes down to it, you have to learn to put the joys and the rewards through the training, not in the result. So in terms of MMA, I believe it was Kamaru Usman was talking about it. And he was talking about how really when he goes into a fight, and this is making an argument for, at the time, pound for pound best in the UFC, he said the fight is the fun part. The making the weight, that's really where the fight is, because you're cutting weight, it's your diet, you're grinding every day in the gym, you're pulling 3, 4, 5 workouts a day to make sure that you're prepared, that you're ready. And that is the same way, and that's the way that I look at it, as you can't look at the result, you have to look at the process to get to that result. And so if hey, I busted my ass every single day in the gym and I did all that I could, well, just participating and doing all that you can do in the competition phase, well, that's the benefits of where you got to. You don't climb up a mountain and then oh, I got to the top. Well, you don't enjoy the process of getting up to the top of a mountain, but you should stop and look around a while, if to make a weird analogy. If you're training really hard, there's little milestones that you can kind of give yourself where it's like, you know what, that was a really good day of practice today. I felt it was a good hard workout. It was a day that I pushed myself. I definitely tried to give it my best, and it was a really good practice. That little acknowledgement of something that you're doing in the process is all you need. You can't just let all this pressure build up and build up and build up until you get to the tournament, because you then put that extra pressure on yourself. And that's where people talk about be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. That's what being in the moment is about. It's about not thinking about all the external stuff. It's not thinking about, oh man, I trained for 7,000 hours before this moment, and I did XYZ. You have to forget about all that. So that's what, in the clarity of be in the moment, it's understand the process you got to, you're in the today, you're in the now, you're in the game, and you're in a match, and you're staring at that guy across from you on the mat, and that's all that you're at. You're on the mat, looking at him, and it's you and him and the referee, and that's all you need. And it doesn't matter if you throw him in the first 30 seconds or if you get teched just before the end of the third period. All that matters is that you were there in that moment right then and there, and you were wrestling that moment at that time, and nothing else externally except for what you were doing and what he was doing is all that matters. And that's the being in the moment, but it takes the preparation, and that's where the confidence is because how much you prepare leads to your confidence, but then having the confidence and the joy to say, okay, I worked really hard. That's where I need to be happy about. And then you just go out and enjoy whatever the competition is. That it leads to a lot less anxiety and fear. And you'll notice you'll start to do a lot better because you start to lift some of that pressure off. And I can say this as an anecdotal, speaking from my own advice. What I went through was really hard preparation that I never gave myself credit for. All that pressure built up and led itself to when it came time to be in the moment of whatever competition or whatever little game. I like using the word competition. When it came time for no longer practice, this is live, it's against an opponent, there was all this external pressure that I had put on myself that kept me from being in the moment. It kept me from being, hey, What's he doing? What am I doing to counter? It's the chess game. That's what sports are. You have to prepare really hard, but you have to, at the same time, relatively throw up that you prepared harder, because once you're there, hey, you're going to resort back to your level of training, and that's what the SEAL. That's why the SEALs train so hard, and that's how they talk about it, and the way that David Goggins talks about it is when you're in times of high pressure, high stakes, you resort back to your level of training. So if you trained your ass off and you busted your butt every single day and you got after it every single day, well, what you resort back to is this really high intense level of training and intensity. And that's where the term perfect practice, like they say, oh, well, practice makes perfect. And it's like, yes, but you have to apply some of that intensity in practice in an efficient way. You have to make sure you're doing the right things in practice. You're not just, going out there acting all crazy and not focusing on anything. So prepare really hard to get confidence. During that preparing, you have to give yourself little check marks to basically continue along on your way, and it helps lessen the anxiety. You're able to have in the moment reality when it comes time to competition, which is going to lead to better results, which then in turns leads to more confidence. And then it leads to another breeding of, oh, well, I want to go and do this. And then you have that new peak on the mountain to chase after, because we all know that's what happens. You're walking up the mountain, you get to the peak, and then you go, wow, this is great. And then you turn and look, and you're like, well, shit, I see another top. I want to go there. And you go, da, 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 and you go walking, you go walking, you go walking, you get to the top of the mountain, you look back, and you go, wow, that's really far down there. Look where I was, and now where I'm at. And then you're looking, it's, wow, it's so amazing, it's so amazing. And you turn and look, and you go, well, shit, there's another mountaintop. And you go walking, you go walking, you go walking, and then you get to the top of this one, and then you look at the first place, and you go, wow, I can't even see where I once was. And then you see the other mountain, you're like, wow, that's also a really far ways down. Look at where I'm at now. That's confidence. That's being in the moment. That's joyous. That's what stay is. So that's all I have for you guys today. And I think that not only, being in the moment and letting a lot of that pressure alleviate off that self, I think some of that comes with being grateful. And I said it the last time, I said it the last message in terms of being grateful, stopping and just saying, yep, today was a good day. I'm really grateful for the things that I have. I'm thankful that I was able to do XYZ today. That helps take a lot of that pressure away. It helps build more confidence, and it continually takes away more and more pressure. And it just leads to more happiness. And I feel we all need to be a lot happier. And I think things would be a lot better if we all were a lot more grateful. And I think that all kind of goes together and wraps into one. So at the end today, be confident, don't be anxious, be in the moment, and always be grateful. Thank you guys again for all your support. You guys are absolutely awesome. Again, I can't do what I do without the help of all of you. So all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, if you want to send me a match, you can. QuinnRedmond21@gmail.com. Just let me know what color singlet you're wearing it, so that way I know which person is you. Also, help support in other ways. I have a couple of shirts, and I'm going to be designing a couple like sweats and sweatshirts as the wrestling season now is about to happen. So if you're going to want some type of design, I want to take input from you guys in terms of what type of stuff you guys would want in the wrestling world. And if you play a different sport or anything else like that, you can let me know too. But I want to structure wrestlers like, hey, I really want this type of sweatshirt. And it's like, well, if a bunch of other people want that type of sweatshirt, well, I want to be able to offer something for you guys that's like, well, this is a really cool sweatshirt, or these are really cool sweats. And that's, I guess, to touch on what I said, that's another thing of confidence. It's like sometimes like when you're wearing something that looks cool, that's where the, feel good, play good. That's something as well. So you guys also let me know something that you'd like. If you want a certain type of sweatshirt, if you want a certain material, if you want a certain look, some type of design, some type of wording, some type of phrase. I'm going to be doing that, but MightyQ.store, there's already a couple of shirts on there that relatively relate to wrestling. So if you guys want to grab yourself a shirt, please, please, please go do that, as well as my Born to Win brand is winningisnatural.com, and that has all the Born to Win merch. That's a separate clothing brand that just originated again around the love of sports. I feel everyone is born to win in their own regards. I feel if anyone is inclined to go do anything in their life, I feel that internally is what's going to bring the best out of them, and they will win in whatever they want to achieve in, and that's where Born to Win comes from. And it's got some switch up stuff on there because this is all old, and that's where it's kind of fun bringing the switch up back into the light. So again, thank you guys so much. If you could, grab yourself a shirt. Let me know if you want some type of clothing or some type of design, and as well, send me a match. I'd love to break it down for you. I want to help you guys get as good as possible, and for you guys to go on and win nationals, win worlds, or do whatever it is that you guys are so inclined. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That's it for me today. So Mighty Q, I am out. Peace.